All right, we're live. All right, you guys, here we go. Let me pray for us, and then we're going to hop in. We got 30 minutes today. I don't think we're going to cover all this today. If we do, that would be pretty awesome, but I do not think we will. So let me pray for us, and whatever conversation we do get to have, just please make sure you guys aren't fooling around back there. It'll distract people up front. All right. Father, thank you for my students who are here. I pray that you be with the ones who are not. I just bless this week in your name that what we do achieve, and honestly, the scramble, the mad dash before Thanksgiving break is a pretty hairy time, but you know what is in store for us this Monday and on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right up until we leave. So I pray that you would protect our hasty tongues before we speak, that you would protect our ears, that we would kind of dig into a layer of what we've heard, that we wouldn't misunderstand. That we would just treasure the people that are in our lives, our friends, and not see them as this sort of like opposition before rest. Help us not to get too focused on something that's not yet here, so much so that we miss what's going on each and every day, each and every class. So just slow us down even before we rest, so that by the time we get there, we can really receive it. And it's not this weird, jarring shift from action to inaction. But we just thank you so much for this school. I can't believe I get to do what we're about to do this period. And I just thank you. I love you. Thank you for these students. Thank you for the love for these students. And just be with us as we talk about this story. In your precious name, amen. All right, so like we talked about on Friday, we are in a very grand tale. Aiden, shut your laptop. We're in a very grand tale, and it's a massive one. All right, Bear, I need you to put that away. Okay. And I'm kind of piecemealing you through this. I'm thankful for people who have gone before me who have done this, so that the way I can give it to you now can be not so dense and heavy. I tried to do it my first semester teaching this class. I tried to do this like really thorough dig, try to offer the students everything I knew about the founding of Troy and, you know, the deep family lines of Agamemnon, you know, but I'm really grateful for this. All right. So on Friday, we talked about what? We talked about Tantalus, the guy who
he killed his son and then fed him to the gods.
Yeah, tried to feed his dead son's body to the gods. And then it didn't stop there. They divined that it was wrong food. It was not right. But it didn't stop there. His offspring, Atreus and Thyestes, what did they do?
One of them killed the family and then tried to kill the other.
Yeah.
They actually ate it.
They did the same thing, but this one actually had consumption. These people truly did consume like the most awful sin. They consumed the essence of the most awful sin and took it into themselves, and therefore this family line was cursed by the ones who did it and the ones who consumed it. All right? And so it's a pretty deep thing. We talked about Adam, of course, and how the story of Adam in Genesis very deeply ties to this one. It kind of makes the story of Genesis make more sense to me, and I hope that one day it might be able to do the same for you. And then I also continued in the conversation. We talked about Cain and Abel, the food offerings to God from Cain and the food offerings from Abel. One God could divine was wrong, and one God could divine was right. And of course, the symbol of the food that was right was pretty intense. It's a spotless lamb. And then the jealousy, the wanting, the needing to have the thing that the other did not have led to the first murder in human history. And it was a taboo murder. The killing of a family member in cold blood, lying and drawing them away in secret, and then killing them and leaving the dead body in secret. But then, you know, we get that really, one of the strongest lines in all of Scripture. Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. One of the most intense lines ever. And we just kind of went through that, the cursed family of Adam. It's weird to think about it like that, cursed house of Adam, but it like really is. And we went all the way through to Cain and Abel. It's kind of like where the Adam family story ends in a lot of people's minds. And then we're going to go back through it now. We're going to go back through it again, and we're going to do it with this lens. Obviously, this is interesting. What's the title of the story? The Golden Apple of Discord. So we got this same idea of fruit and knowledge, fruit in some sort of mental consumption. And this time it's discord. Do you guys know what discord is? No, discord in itself literally means, and it's so funny that website is called Discord, because it knows itself. It's very like, that website knows itself. There's too much on that website to feel like you can have it all. There's no systematic way to consume everything on that website, because what do you have? You have millions of people putting all of their stuff out there to be consumed constantly, all the time. It's just an interesting thing. But now moving out of that, discord itself is the opposite of harmony. So harmony is when things are different, but when they exist in beauty. They're different from each other. They're not the same, but when they exist, beauty, unity, truth, and goodness goes with them. So discord is the opposite. So harmony is when God spoke the universe into existence, and even though things were different and dissonant from one another, he made their sound and their existence become one together. Unity, love, reality. Discord is the opposite. It's taking those things that are different and driving them apart again. All right? The golden apple of discord. It's like, should we be reading Genesis 3 right now? Probably. But honestly, this kind of story makes me feel like I can understand Genesis 3 more. That's what makes this story so amazing. And once again, it's centered around food, centered around consumption and a feast. Oh, it's freaking bonkers, dude. All right, so here we go. Hey, I'm not doing too bad on time. All right, so we have to go back, not just through the Genesis and creation story, but we got to go back in the Zeus story. You guys remember what Kronos had looming over his head effervescently that made him eat his own children? What was it? Why did he eat his own children?
Fear.
Fear of?
Losing.
Them becoming greater than him.
And was it a legitimate fear? It was. Because there was a prophecy that said, one of your offspring will take you over and be more powerful than you. And this prophecy that Kronos had over him was a hereditary prophecy. Because guess what? Zeus had the exact same prophecy over him. Just a little bit different. There is a woman who will bear you a child, and that child will be more powerful than you. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
I don't know if, like, we've already discussed this, but that's just like the tragedy of Macbeth, like how the prophecy came to him and said someone will take over and stuff.
100%. Good, Colton. That's exactly why that movie is like a really good thing to see. Yeah, you're exactly right. Good job, man. Yeah.
Who was more powerful than Zeus? Like, who was the son?
That's what we're getting into. So we're going back to the dawn of kind of his initial fear, his initial paranoia, which is, of course, just like Colton's pointing out for us, this is the theme of so many stories, how they begin. The person in charge has this threatening whisper of loss, and it takes them over, it consumes them. And so that's what happens to him. All right? And guess what, guys? There's someone you know who actually knew who that woman was. Who do you think is probably like one of the smartest people you've met so far? He knows things before they happen. He just like is kind of on it since the dawn of time, even before the Titanomachia, the fight against the Titans. Who's this guy that y'all know who has foresight and he can kind of see into the future?
Prometheus.
Very good, Prometheus. So he knows. Prometheus knows who this woman is. And remember, guys, Prometheus thought that Zeus would be better than Kronos, and he was, kinda. But right when Zeus rose to power, do you remember what Prometheus did?
Gave fire.
He regretted helping Zeus get to power, and he said humanity is where power should be. This thing that's just all the way above them, it's too transcendent for them. It's not right for the transcendent to have power all by itself. We need to give divine power to man. And remember, fire is the essence of divinity on earth. It's perfect. It's the perfect example of divinity in nature. And so he helped. And not only did he help man, which obviously ticked Zeus off to like no end, but he also said, I know who the girl is that's gonna like give birth to your son. And I know you can't keep it in your pants, so I know it's gonna happen. He kind of teased Zeus with this, and Zeus hated him for this. because he was not going to tell him who this woman was. Isn't that so interesting? He let Zeus in on this prophecy, and he even said, I know exactly who the woman is, but I know something about you that's more dreadful, and it's that you can't control yourself. Isn't that awesome? I love it. Because Prometheus isn't a god per se, but he's a titan. This kind of natural born, like you would like equivalent, I don't want to say too much, but he's awesome. All right? And then eventually Zeus, you guys know Zeus tortures him for years and years and years and years and years. And eventually Prometheus caves, and he does reveal who this woman is. And her name is Thetis. All right, so after he's tortured, Prometheus reveals who this woman is. Her name is Thetis. Thetis. And she's a divinity of the sea. She's not a god, but she is more human than most gods are. All right? She's a relative of a sea god, not Poseidon. Remember, there's many. And here's what's awful. And I put this picture up here because you need to know that it's a sorrowful existence for her, which you got to take note of if we're going to parallel these things to what we deem reality, to the myth that we deem reality, which is a weird way to talk about the Bible, but it is. It's the myth that we deem fact, which is so dope.
What's the definition of a myth?
A story that explains a value. That's what a myth is. It's unfortunate because now the definition's been bastardized.
So it's like
Not real. Yeah, fake. But a myth is a story that deems something true, good, and beautiful. That's what a myth really is. And so when we look at all these myths, we're like, oh, well, those aren't real. But somehow ours is. You know? Like the story that has inexplicable things in it, things that will never be proven or measured, never taste, touch, feel those things, and yet still real, you know? It's a good question, dude. So this woman, she has a different kind of thing. Because obviously, what am I kind of getting at here? We're getting into Christmas time, so this is so rad. This woman who will bear the Son of God that will be powerful. Yeah, it's like this. You can't escape that parallel. You know, this like, but this one is so interesting. Because it's God's child, and God himself in this story is terrified. So much so that he takes the knowledge of finding out who this woman is, he takes it and he says, I've got to change it. So now we see very much so a Macbeth and Oedipus-esque kind of approach towards a prophecy. I've got to take steps to change my fate. All right? If you could change your fate, would ya? Have y'all seen Brave? Freaking love Brave, dude. Brave is so good. Anyways, he does. And he, in some versions of the story, it's really horrible. He possesses a man named Peleus, who y'all actually saw. He was there. Who can hit me with some trivia? Where was he in a story I've told you about already? I'd be so impressed if any of you remembered this. This is just trivia, obviously. It's not like important or anything. He was one of the Argonauts. So he was there in the Jason and the Argonauts story. So he's taken part in grand things. And he, in some versions of the story, he possesses Peleus to rape Thetis, to get her pregnant before he can. Because the prophecy is linked to her. Her firstborn child, with you, Zeus, will be more powerful than you. And so he forces, in some stories, he forces that. I don't think I like that version of the story. The other one is that he just forces her to marry him. And she's sad. She has no freedom, no choice in who to love, who to spend the rest of eternity with, like that. And so, this wedding has to take place. She is now pregnant. And then Zeus has this weird stab of conscience where he's just like, that wasn't really like cool of me to do that. And so he's like, I am going to throw her the greatest wedding in all of history. Let that sit in just for a second. I'm going to throw her the greatest feast and party in all of human history and all of divine history. And I'm going to bring the two together. All humans, all divinity are invited to this wedding. Because the prophecy's been broken. The curse has been broken. But it's like this selfish thing, you know? It's like, it doesn't feel quite right. And that's why I like this picture of Thetis. Because, yeah, she is going to have the most powerful son. But he's not going to be immortal anymore. He's supposed to be Zeus's son. Forever, eternally better, greater, stronger. And Zeus took that from him and forced him to be born a man with Peleus. But isn't that, like, are y'all kind of catching what I'm tossing to you? He was supposed to be eternal forever. The prophecy said he was supposed to be the greatest thing in all of existence. But then his existence became demeaned, brought down to flesh. And he's forced to die now. He's not eternal anymore. It's interesting. Interesting stuff. All right, so at this wedding, before this kid is born, at this wedding, there's everybody. Like, I'm trying to give you as much of a visual as I can here. This was like the event. This was it. All right, all for Peleus and Thetis' marriage. And he said, in order for this to be perfect, there's one person who cannot be here. All right, remember, there's a god or a demon, a figure, a personified being for everything. And so the person that he did not want to be there was a woman named Eris. Does anybody know who Eris was the divinity over? Discord. All right, Cadmus, y'all remember Cadmus in the family line of Thebes? He was married to... Trivia question. I would be so impressed if any of y'all knew this. Cadmus was married to Harmonia, the goddess of harmony. All right? Eris is the goddess of discord, disunity. All right? And so she's the one who's not invited. This divine being, not invited to this feast, kicked off of Olympus, kicked out of heaven, to not be a part of this feast. And she, of course, hates that. She hates that. But she found a way to be there. What does she exist in? What is she personifying? Discord. So she can be there as long as discord is there. And so what she does, this sweet little girl, is she says, oh, that's fine. I don't have to be there myself. But I do have a gift I want to give to the sweet bride and groom. And it's an apple. Oh, yeah, for sure, because it's a good story.
It's like Ellen Enchanted.
It's a good story, dude. Yeah, 100%. All right? So here we go. Here we go. And this is so interesting. If I were to like leave it up to you, especially, okay, if you know the story, don't answer it. But like, what do you think the apple had written on it? If it was gonna bring discord, she wrote something on the apple, this beautiful apple. She wrote something on it. What do you think it would have on it? I'm so curious. What do you think would be the sentence or the phrase that would cause the most discord amongst a perfectly happy feast like this? What would ruin this? This is so interesting, dude. What do you think it would have written on it? Aiden?
That one would cheat on the other.
A lie. A lie. But that could be disproved. Because everybody's there.
But you never know.
I guess you're right. Cheating accusations are pretty violent. That's a good guess. What else? Oh, a random prophecy? That's true. That's a good take. That's a good take. You could write some fanfic about that and go off that angle and see. Yeah. Oh, wait, can I say fanfic or is that too weird? All right. Shiloh, don't be too quick to correct me there. All right, so here we go. What else? Those are great. Both of those were great answers. This is what it said. It said Callisti, which means to the fairest. For the prettiest one.
Snow White.
Frick yeah. Nice. Sorry, excuse my French. Well, no, that's awesome. For the prettiest. I never thought about it like that. How have I never thought about that?
It's like
Great job.
a Disney story.
That's exactly right. It totally is. Because that's what a Disney story is meant to end in. Is a happy marriage. True union again. True love. That's why those stories are so good. It's because there's a bad evil trying to rip that union away. That's why we want our young daughters and our young men to resemble what's in those stories. That's why fairy tales are freaking awesome. They're myths. Something truly valuable is in them. Yeah. So this is interesting. It's a stab to vanity. Now, who do you think are the people who responded most to Eris's little treat here? Who do you think responded? What?
Aphrodite.
Not the prophets. Aphrodite. Very good. She's one. Aphrodite, who's literally the goddess of beauty. She's like, well, obviously, it's me.
Like Athena?
Athena, the other daughter of Zeus. Obviously me. I sprung out of Zeus's head. Like, I am literally the forefront of godly beauty. But Hera. I am married to God the Father. I am the most beautiful. All right, guys. So the discord here hits a trinity of goddesses, all of which who desire beauty, love, and unity more than anything else. That symbol's massive, dog. Massive. And so, they fight. Because they want to have this. Everybody saw the apple. Everyone in existence, everyone worth anything saw this apple. And it means a lot who gets this apple in front of everybody like that. Reputation and being reside within the reception of this apple. Significant. And so they fight, and then they eventually turn to who to answer it for them? Zeus. And homie is shaking in his little Greek sandals, man. He's got his two daughters and his wife saying, who's the prettiest? Yikes, 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 dude. Oh man, yikes. So he actually does the only wise thing I've ever seen Zeus do. And he says, I'm not going to answer that question. I've heard about a guy, though, who's a really good judge on earth. He's just a really good judge of character, and he's actually really proud of himself for being a good judge of character. And so these three women are like, you better find us this guy quick, because we need to know now. And his name is Paris. Well, Paris, France is named after him. So he has a long story. Don't worry, I'll tell you his story one day, hopefully. But he is, what?
Why do they need to find Paris?
Because Zeus did not want to be the one to say, you're the prettiest. They needed someone to bear the judgment of these goddesses himself. And it was laid on a man. He was given the task of saying what divinely matters most amongst these three. All right? It's a good question. Zeus did not want to bear the penalty. Obviously, Vincent, you know that the gods hold grudges for all eternity. He didn't want to have one of those sitting on him from his daughters or his wife.
Yeah.
Let's just go ahead and say kudos to Eris. That was well played. She was like, oh, you don't want me at the party? I'm going to be at the party. Like, dude, could not have done, something much more hurtful than this. Because now it's a dilemma not just between the divine, but now the dilemma's been passed on to the human determination of what is most beautiful. What is truly the best. And of course, when all the goddesses reveal themselves to him in their most gorgeous, like, dude, I can't imagine what Paris saw. They're literally trying to show off their utmost beauty to him without murdering him with their being. I cannot imagine the things that he saw with his eyes, beauty-wise. Like, he saw the essence of divine femininity. Like, dude, homie's got some stories. People be buying him beers to hear what he saw every weekend. But it wasn't enough to just see. He couldn't, obviously. He couldn't judge between these three gorgeous, infinite baddies. He had to know something too. He had to know something. And so what he asked for was, what do you offer? What do you offer with your beauty? What is it about your beauty that grants a future? Because beauty for sight is one thing, but beauty for relationship is another. And that's what he asked. It's a really, really good question. I mean, Zeus chose a pretty good guy to do this judgment. And so the goddesses give him something as a result of their beauty and their awesome power, their awesome presence and fairness. And the first to offer is Athena. She says, if you choose me and you receive my beauty as the highest, I will make you a wonderful warrior. My presence, my image will be bestowed upon you, so much so that you will never lose in battle. Because you guys know that she's also not just the goddess of wisdom, but also the goddess of strategy and warfare. So like her presence is something that will imbue power on the field. Hera then is next, and she says, mine will be sons. Mine will be rule. Your authority will go beyond and through into many generations. Wives upon wives, descendants upon descendants will be yours. And then Aphrodite goes. She is the goddess of beauty itself. It would be kind of odd if she didn't win this. Spoiler alert, she wins. She says, I will grant you what every man really wants the most. And that is the most lovely woman in existence. I will give you the most gorgeous person to have ever lived. She'll be yours. Paris says, oh my gosh. Frig, for real. And that's what happens. He gives the apple to Aphrodite. She becomes the fairest. So let's just put a pin in this conversation for a second. What does that mean? Divinely? What does that mean? Discord forever. Athena and Aphrodite are never going to get along ever again. Athena is also going to hate Paris and his bloodline forever for not choosing her. And same with Hera. Hera will never forgive. Y'all know Hera. She is never going to forgive this insult to her reputation. That's her whole existence, dog. She's never going to forgive it. But Aphrodite, now, the cathartic release of love and care for this man and his bloodline, palpable, dude. And yeah, dude, she grants him the most gorgeous woman ever. And her name is Helen. Her blonde hair, her eyes, her skin, her figure, her voice, her breath, her ears, her nose, her hands. Guys, every single aspect of this woman is perfect in every way forever. She's Helen. There's no one in any bit of literature or movies or history or shows that will ever come close to the ideal beauty that is Helen. But here's the Gucci little tidbit that was left out by Aphrodite. You guys ready? Hope you want to hit it. She's married. She's married to a warlord. She's married to a Spartan warlord. And she just got ripped out of her household by God to be given to another man. And that man is a prince of Troy. And this guy's name is Menelaus. And his brother is the warlord of the sea, of all of Mycenae. And his name is Agamemnon. And this is the beginning of the Trojan War. Because Paris is a prince of Troy, and these are the warlords of Greece. All right, we have a lot of other bits of the story to tell you, but that's all I can cover today.
Upper school students and teachers, Wonderfell Range Middle School is going to an assembly in the Whitaker Auditorium, and upper school is going to advisory